All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into the Chiefs Zone podcast. Farzy Vasugian here with you on a Saturday, and I appreciate you guys staying up late with me for this one as the Chiefs drop the preseason opener 20-17 to the Arizona Cardinals. Yes, the preseason's back, and there are some positives to take away from this one. There are some negatives, of course, to look at as well. A lot of things to go over here. If you want to just primarily focus, and I know this is what a lot of fans do, if you want to just focus on the starting unit and some of the second string players, you feel pretty good about Kansas City in this one. I mean, Arizona left Kyler Murray in there for 2 drives, and the Chiefs defense started putting some of their rookies during that second drive, and they held Arizona to a field goal. So in terms of your starters and some of the key second string guys that are expected to play a lot this season, guys like Ashton Gelati, Omar Norman Lott, Jeffrey Bassa, who, by the way, I thought had a really good game today. I think you can feel pretty good about how the Chiefs' first and second unit guys were in this game. Special teams played great today. You went out there, got a couple of forced fumbles on kick returns, including the opening kickoff where the Chiefs recovered. And then you had Matt Araiza had a touchback today. And keep in mind, he led the NFL in touchbacks last year. But boy, he had some good punts in this one. Showed off that cannon for a leg that he has. Also had a nice little punt where he pinned the Cardinals inside their own red zone, I think specifically at the 5-yard line. So that was good to see. That's something he struggled with last year, directional punting. So I was glad to see that. Nico Remigio had that nice, a 48-yard return. Butker made a 58-yard field goal. Special teams gets an A+ from me. I thought they did great in this game. Now, if you want to talk about the backups, which is primarily what the preseason is for, that's really what the preseason is all about, is trying to figure out who some of your second string guys are going to be and who are the third stringers, some of the third stringers, of course, and then putting together that practice squad roster. And it might not involve everyone that's on the team right now. Of course, the Chiefs last year got a couple of guys that were on other teams when they were putting together that 53-man roster plus their practice squad. But there wasn't too much to be encouraged about when it came to the backups in this game. Bailey Zappi went in there. Boy, I mean, it looked like he was practicing for a fire drill. Threw 2 picks in this one. 8 of 17, 70 yards, led the Chiefs in passing yards in this game. And then Chris Oladokun went in there. Hey, and listen, we know Chris Oladokun's been around for a very long time in Kansas City. He was cut last year, and Bailey Zappi ended up being the practice squad quarterback. Then Deshaun Watson got hurt in Cleveland. So Cleveland claims Bailey Zappi off Kansas City's practice squad, and that's when the Chiefs brought Chris Oladokun back. And we know Chris Oladokun, I mean, this is a guy that makes a lot of plays with his feet. We saw him do it today. Had that nice little pass. I believe it was to Elijah Badger. One of the receivers. I don't have it in front of me. Maybe it was Magdalena. But the heel was just out of bounds. So it ended up being a 4th down play right there. And it was kind of a weird sequence of events there where Kansas City went back and they called the timeout. So they punted instead. I didn't think that was really the best move. It's a preseason game. In a regular season game, yeah, I can see the Chiefs wanting to punt the football and not give the opposing team great field position in that moment. But in a preseason game, I mean, look, let the guys go out there and play. I didn't like that they called a timeout just to switch to a punt. I was a little confused by that. But there are some things, and keep in mind, these are all 3rd, 4th string players that are out there. But that's what you have to work with sometimes. And Chris Oladokun made some plays, made some things happen, but then there were also times where the unnecessary roughness, and I can't remember who that was on, but that pushed the Chiefs back. And essentially they went back to the 20-yard line, which is never good. And by the way, it doesn't help that Brashard Smith, they're catching that punt at the 4. Yeah, that's never a good thing. This is one of my biggest criticisms about the Chiefs. I know I said special teams A+. Okay, maybe I gotta amend that a little bit and say A-. Wasn't too pleased with some of the decisions on punt returns. I wasn't too impressed with Brashard Smith today. Now, I'm not saying cut him or anything like that. I still think he has 2 more opportunities to prove himself in these preseason games, because we have seen his speed in training camp. We have seen his speed at the scouting combine. He had the 3rd fastest 40 time of any running back at this year's scouting combine. But we didn't see that in this game. He had 4 rushes for 10 yards. Not really the greatest there, not a good yard per carry average. And then he had a catch going backwards. A couple of screenplays the Chiefs ran today just did not work in their favor. Whenever the Cardinals had a screenplay, that worked in their favor. I know Elijah Badger had that one screenplay on that quick pass. That ended up going for a first down. He did a really good job on that play. But the screen game for Kansas City just was not there tonight. It wasn't. But going back to my comments about Brashard Smith, I didn't think he had a good game today. Wasn't impressed with him. And hopefully the Chiefs can work on that with him. There's a lot that they can take away from this game, especially with the 3rd and 4th unit guys. But man, I was hoping that Chris Oladokun with his feet would have been, because whenever it was 2nd and 20, I feel like the Chiefs were just forcing plays out there. I mean, Chris Oladokun was not getting any help from the offensive line. I was hoping for a draw play of some sort to maybe allow Brashard Smith to showcase his speed. They didn't do that. So instead, it was just pass after pass, and none of it worked. They call a timeout to bring the offense out and put the punting unit on the field. I was a little confused by that, but that's the way it ended. And by the way, Chris Oladokun, not only does he have the longest run of the game, that was a 26-yard run. Remember that one? Even though there was a penalty that pushed it back a bit, it was the most rushing yards the Chiefs had here. Carson Steele had 3 for 15 yards. Not bad. Kareem Hunt had a couple of carries for 12 yards. Elijah Mitchell ran 3 times for 10 yards. I mentioned Smith already. Pacheco had a run for 8 yards. Not really the greatest showing from the rushing department in this game. And keep one thing in mind. I know Pacheco could have had 1,000 yards his rookie season if the Chiefs played their starters in that final game, but they didn't. The thing to keep it, or I can't remember, was it 22 or 23? Yeah, that was 22. The more I think about it. Yeah, that was 22. But, and I know this has been brought up recently about Mahomes. In the Mahomes era, what have the Chiefs not had? They haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher. Okay, Kareem Hunt could have, but he got kicked off the team in 2018. Remember that. Like I said a moment ago, Pacheco could have had that if the Chiefs played all their starters in that Week 18 game. I think that was in LA, or maybe it was the year before. I can't remember. But neither here nor there. They haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher in the Mahomes era. Also in the Mahomes era, I mean, you had Eric Fisher. Eric Fisher, I wouldn't argue, was ever an elite left tackle. Had a couple of good seasons towards the tail end of his career. But they haven't had a good offensive tackle in the Mahomes era, especially since they cut Mitchell Schwartz, who was a right tackle, not a left tackle, but neither here nor there. So those are the things that you need with this. Oh, by the way, the Chiefs have made it to the AFC title game every year with Mahomes, but I'd like to see some consistency at the running back position, and we didn't even have that in this game. I get it. It's the first preseason game. A lot of different guys play. So I get all of that. But I still think it'd be nice if the running back showed a little something in this one. Janice says, I hate when Andy Reid says that the ones will play the first quarter and he only plays in one series. That's every year. That is every year. Let's talk some of the positives. I mentioned Jeffrey Bossa earlier in the show. I really liked what I saw from him. I believe he was a former Rose Bowl MVP, Rose Bowl or Fiesta Bowl. I can't remember which one it was off the top of my head, so I apologize there. But out of Oregon, had a really good college career. And tonight with the Chiefs, he had a nice QB hit on third down on Jacoby Brissett. And then at one point in the game, he had another nice play where on third and short, he stuffs the running back, not allowing them to get a first down. So I like what I saw from Jeffrey Bossa in this game. Robert Tonyan, the tight end who Travis Kelce nicknames Big Bob, he had a really good day tonight. 3 catches, 49 yards, 4 targets, led the Chiefs in both receptions and yards. He tied for the most receptions. Jalen Royals also at 3 as well. And then the third Chief that I was impressed with the most today was Jaden Hicks. Now, I mentioned earlier at the halftime live stream, talked about how Jaden Hicks got that interception. They showed a nice replay of Hicks' interception. When you watch it on the live broadcast, it doesn't do justice. It does look like Kyler Murray just threw it straight to Jaden Hicks. It's not necessarily what happened. There was a receiver going on a cross pattern there, and Hicks just happened to be in the way of that route, in front of the route, rather. And Kyler Murray, still a bad pass. Kyler Murray just completely missed him, but it doesn't look like the way it did on the live broadcast. On the replays, depending on the angle, you can actually see Hicks being in front of that receiver and being in front of that route and taking that away. And that was on the first drive. Jaden Hicks is going to be a very important player for Kansas City this season. I'm excited to see what he's going to do. I remember last year when Brett Veach did a press conference, he talked about how he was catching up with Tyrann Mathieu, who recently retired. And he mentioned that Tyrann Mathieu was praising Jaden Hicks and said that Jaden Hicks reminded him of himself. Usually when you get that kind of an endorsement, that's pretty good. And with Justin Reid moving on, I think that was expected, especially with some of the cap restrictions the Chiefs had this offseason. You knew Justin Reid was moving on. You saw that coming. And that's a huge reason why Kansas City drafted a safety. They really like Jaden Hicks and what they saw last year. Remember when the Chiefs played 3 games in 11 days last year in December? Jaden Hicks played a lot during those 3 games. In fact, I think the total snaps he had in those 3 games was equal to what he had previously the entire season he had during that rookie campaign. So he really stepped up when the Chiefs needed it the most, especially when, that's a short amount of time. Bodies are not going to be the most fresh. It's already late in the season, so they're not even fresh to begin with. But I liked what I saw from Jaden Hicks in this game. Another player that I also liked and thought he had a really good day was Christian Roland Wallace. Obviously, he came out on top when he got that fumble recovery to open up the game during the opening kickoff. And he also had a pick in this game as well. So I liked what I saw from Christian Roland Wallace. He picked off Clayton Tune, the 3rd string quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. So that was good to see. I like the Chiefs' run defense. I thought they showed some fight in the end there. And I know a lot of those guys that we saw in the final minute of the game, those are guys we're probably not going to see much of, if any, this season. And I mentioned this earlier, Kansas City's run defense has been very good in training camp. And that's not a surprise to me because that's something they've been good with all year. The Chiefs have not allowed a running back to rush for 100 yards in 26 consecutive games, playoffs included. The last running back to get 100 yards on the Chiefs was Zamir White in that Christmas Day game. Remember that one? Yeah, not one we want to remember, but that's the last time a running back ran for 100 yards on the Chiefs. Lamar Jackson ran for 100 yards on the Chiefs. Insert running back joke there, but he's not a running back. He's a quarterback. A quarterback who runs a lot, but not a running back in the NFL. So the way I see it, towards the end of that game, my point is you saw that run defense. I mean, they were trying. They weren't allowing much, but they kind of shot themselves in the foot with the penalties, and it just was too much at that point. and Arizona just kind of pushed their way forward, had the QB sneak there to wrap up the game. So some positives and some negatives to take away. I believe we already have the phone, the link to call in for you guys. So let me know what your thoughts are. I'll read some comments as we go on here. In fact, I'll read some right now. Charlie says Kelsey Tonyan could be a good tight end duo. Yeah, possibly. I think, a lot of good comments here about Tonyan. I see Robert's comment as well. I think Robert would be more of a third string. Robert Tonyan, that is, a third string tight end. I still think Noah Gray is your number 2 tight end. I mean, this is a guy that really stepped up his game last year, and I think he's ready for that next step. And I've talked about Noah Gray recently. I did a video about him on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/@thechiefzone, for those who are not subscribed to the YouTube channel. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're trying to get the numbers up on there, and recently they've been going up a lot, so I appreciate you guys doing that. All the social media has been going up lately, so much love and appreciation to all of you guys for that. But I've talked about this with Noah Gray. I don't know what kind of a season he's going to have statistically. This is a guy that's capable of having 500-600 yards, but is he going to get that? I don't know, because Patrick Mahomes is going to be spreading the ball a lot. And I don't know if we're going to get a 1,000-yard receiver either, because of Rashee Rice's suspension. That's one reason why. But if Rice plays a full game, he's capable of it. I think Xavier Worthy is capable of a 1,000-yard season. I think Travis Kelce, if the receivers stay healthy, which right now you got a couple of receivers who are unavailable but are expected to return soon in Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice, then I think Kelce is a guy that could benefit from having all that speed around him, and that could help him get more open and get more involved with the Chiefs offense compared to last year. Which, keep in mind, he was still a top 5 tight end when it came to receptions and receiving yards. People always make a big deal. Oh, Kelce took a big step back. Yeah, but he was still one of the better tight ends last year in the league. But I think Noah Gray would still be your number 2. I know on my depth chart, my projected depth chart, I did put Jared Wiley as the number 3 tight end. I think I put a number 4 tight end as well. I can't remember which name that was. I know it was not Robert Tonyan. Robert Tonyan did look like a guy that, if you had to make your roster cuts tonight, right after the game, Tonyan is probably someone you would want on your football team. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, it's just one preseason game. We'll see what happens in practice as the Chiefs, they're getting ready to head back to Kansas City and then go straight to St. Joe. The Chiefs have 3 practices left. They'll practice on Monday, then Tuesday and Wednesday. By the way, if you're going out there, just check the times, because practice starts at different days, all 3 of them. All 3 days are going to be a little different. Yeah, I'm pulling up the tight end. Oh yeah, I put Jake Briningstool on there. I know he didn't do anything today, but he's looked really good in practice. So maybe he gets another opportunity in the definitely the 3rd preseason game, where you're not expected to see any of the starters in that 3rd preseason game. But as far as tonight goes, those were some of the positive highlights from the Chiefs. Now, with some positives come some negatives as well. The one big negative that everyone's been talking about, well, 2 really. One is Najee Johnson, and this is nothing new. We've complained about Najee Johnson many times. And I remember in that Black Friday game against the Raiders, he got yanked mid-game, and the Chiefs started putting Josh Williams in there. They had to try something else because it was not working out with Najee Johnson. Najee Johnson, let me just get this off right away. He's got a lot of speed. This is a guy that can go after quarterbacks. We know in this defense that Spags runs, nickel and dime packages. He loves to use the linebackers and the defensive backs for blitzes. And Najee Johnson thrives in that role. But when it comes to coverage, man, Najee Johnson just has not been good in that department. He really hasn't. He did not have a good game today. In fact, there was that one point where he was beat and he interfered with the receiver to at least prevent the touchdown. Another player who did not do very well, I already mentioned, Bailey Zappi. 2 picks for him in this one. 8 of 17. Pretty bad completion percentage rate right there for Bailey Zappi. His quarterback rating 18.9. Not good. Not good at all. Keep in mind, the Chiefs got Bailey Zappi when he was available, brought him in as a practice squad quarterback, and cut Chris Oladokin. Again, if your roster cut had to be trimmed tonight, and if we're going off this game, I don't think Bailey Zappi's making that practice squad based on tonight's performance. Not that Chris Oladokin did anything amazing. He had some flashes here and there, but not enough to even get the Chiefs to midfield on that final drive with the game on the line. And you heard Trent Green and Ari mention this. There's no overtime anymore in the preseason. I don't know when they got away from that. I do remember the Chiefs beating the Steelers. I can't remember what year it was, but it was in the preseason and they went into overtime. And it was basically, sudden death rules at that time where the Chiefs got a touchdown and they won the game. I think it was like 26-20, that kind of a game. But Bailey Zappi certainly did not look very good in this game. Another player that'll add to this list here, and a player that I think a lot of us were keeping an eye on, Brashard Smith. I was not too impressed with Brashard Smith in this game here. Yeah, Elijah Badger did look very good, Charlie. I liked what I saw from him. Terry says, typical preseason game, frustrating, but vanilla Andy. Yeah, I mean, listen, we know they're not going to put too much out there. Jared says they put the fourth string referees. We're not complaining about referees, are we? Jackson's asking first cuts after they don't do first cuts anymore. I remember the NFL used to do roster cuts from 90 to 75. They don't do that anymore. It's all one moment there. So they'll have their 90-man roster all the way through the preseason. So there's you can cut players if you want, but there's no deadline to do it until the 22nd or the 20. Or no, maybe a week after that. I can't remember exactly what day the roster cuts are. Let me look it up. Roster cut NFL deadline. August 27th. That's when it is. For some reason, I thought it was a week before, but no. That's when the deadline is to trim your roster. Oh, no, that's last year's. As I'm Googling it. Let me just add 2025 to this Google search here. The 26th. Okay, I thought it was going to be somewhere around there. Okay, yeah, the 26th. Okay, there we go. Yeah, a lot of penalties in this one. I remember they put a graphic up. The Chiefs had 9 penalties in the middle of the fourth quarter. What did it end up being? I think 10 or 11 penalties for Kansas City in this game. Yeah, 11 penalties, 113 yards. Cardinals were penalized just 5 times in this one. So that's something the Chiefs definitely do have to clean up, is the penalties. Yeah, that Delana, that was a bad call. That was a bad call. If he's grabbing, if his fingers are going through the face mask and he got the helmet up, that's a clear penalty. This is why I keep saying, man, they need to make everything reviewable. There are a couple of penalties that coaches can challenge, but a lot of penalties can't be challenged, which doesn't make any sense. Minshew's got to go. Waste some money. What? Roger, you're being sarcastic. I know you are. I mean, not that Minshew was amazing, but for a second string guy that played with the starters a little bit and then played with the second stringers again, I thought Minshew looked good. I would have liked to see Mahomes play one more series because there's nothing I can really take away from that opening drive. You took advantage of a turnover and you were essentially in the red zone right off the bat. And it was a quick drive. I said before the game, if the Chiefs had a quick drive with Mahomes, I was anticipating a second drive. We never got that second drive. I'm not really too upset about it. I just would have liked to see him get more involved with Jalen Royals and Tyquan Thornton, especially since Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown did not play in this game. We'll see if they'll be back practicing this week. Rice was out there, looked fine. I mean, he's not going full speed or anything, but we'll see if he comes back to practice on Monday when the Chiefs head back to St. Joe. Just reading some comments here. Enrique says, I think Kareem Hunt will be awesome this year with all the workouts and training camp to get him in shape. Yeah, that's a great point about Kareem Hunt. He talked about last year in the story, obviously getting a second chance with the team. And I know he was doing that interview with Kimmy Chex from NFL Network and talked about how appreciative he is of getting another opportunity with the Chiefs and being re-signed in the offseason. But yeah, that's a great point, because this time last year, Kareem Hunt had said several times when being asked about it, he mentioned he was training with his old trainer in the hallways of a high school or a middle school that he went to. I can't remember which one. Andy Reid was asked by the media how Josh Simmons did. Andy Reid's response, this is a perfect response. Quote, I wasn't screaming at him, so I think he did okay. That's great. Oh, that's not what we meant. Yeah, that's what we meant. Well, that's a good way to decipher whether or not a player had a good day, whether or not you yelled at him. 14-3 is the record this year. AFC West champs. Again, not the Chargers like you, especially with Slater's injury. That really does hurt their chances. Sean says Kelsey could have a 900 to 1,000 yard season. Yeah, possibly. I think that sounds about right. Where was the defensive guy that hurt his Achilles on the depth chart? Oh, you're talking about Deion Bush. Yeah, he had an unfortunate injury. And I know Jalen Watson, he had to exit the game as well in the concussion protocol as the officials upstairs noticed something with Deion Bush. He was third string behind Shamari Connor and Jaden Hicks. By the way, another player, to go back to the negatives, I was not pleased with, and I left him out of my depth chart, and I got a lot of pushback for this. Felix Anudike-Uzomah, he did have a quarterback hit earlier in the game on Jacoby Brissett. That was good, but later on in the second half, he did get flagged for roughing the passer. Listen, I get it. There's some pressure on FAU. They drafted Ashton Gelati. It's highly doubtful they cut him. And listen, the Chiefs have cut some draft picks before. They cut Kamal Haddon last year. Kevin Hogan. Remember Kevin Hogan? That was the last quarterback they drafted right before Mahomes, a year before Mahomes. And they cut him after right after the preseason. Kavari Russell was a third-round cornerback. Now, he made the initial 53, but 2 or 3 weeks into the season, he got cut. So, I never say never, but the Chiefs are not going to cut Ashton Gelati. I don't think so. So, if you're FAU, you're feeling the heat. You're feeling the pressure. You know that this is your last chance. And I think he was just trying to make a play right there. And just didn't work out for him. I think right now, if you had to make the roster cuts today, he might be the 52nd or the 53rd guy on your team. Sky Moore catches punts, just not passes. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I agree, Kurt. I like what I saw from Noel Williams. He got involved on special teams as well. We don't see a lot of Chiefs players get involved in the return game over on the defensive side. That was interesting. Did you get the Jason Mass Comic-Con? Yes. That right there is CJ Graham, super cool guy. That was last year in Kansas City. This one was about a month or two ago. Kane Hodder. Yes, Kane Hodder, who's done a couple of Friday the 13th movies. I'm so confused why a team would take a knee in a preseason game. Kind of crazy. Well, I think you have to still operate as if it's a real game. These are still you're going with these situations as if they're real. So, I mean, I get your point, but you won the game. They don't have any more timeout stuff, so they took the knee. Not a surprise. I hate QB kneels before halftime. That I hate, but All right. I've read Facebook and YouTube. Let me see if Instagram has some comments here. S. Sneagle 108. If Sky ain't cut, FAU safe till he resigns? Yeah, maybe. You're in Australia. Well, shout out to Australia. Rice is hurt at the moment. Yes. Waka one. Um, but it's a minor groin injury, according to Andy Reid, so he's not expected to miss much time. He should be back pretty soon, I would imagine. All right. Thoughts on Carson Steele's chances? Not bad. I mean, I think he looks good today. He looked good today, excuse me. I think he'll make the initial 53, but I think that's someone who could be a candidate for a roster cut once Rashee Rice comes back from a suspension. That is what the prediction that Rice is going to be suspended to start the season. If the NFL will get it together and announce the suspension already, I think that'd be great. But you know the NFL has no rhyme or reason with the timing of when they announce these suspensions. Does Sky Moore make the team this year? Greg says, I hope not. I say no. Even if Rice starts the season suspended, I still think it's a no. I do think he comes back to the practice squad because I don't know any team that is going to be dying to get Sky Moore services. I mean, he just hasn't done well in the NFL. Yeah, sure, former second round pick, but he just hasn't been doing much. Nice shirt. Thank you. Actually, you want to know a funny story about this shirt? Not a funny story, but a cool story, I guess. So I got this for my birthday in May. My family got this. It's a nice looking shirt. It didn't fit me. And they said, we can exchange. I said, no. I'm going to fit into this shirt. And I think I was about 205. I'm now 188. This shirt fits me now. Yeah. Dude, I've had a lot of shirts I've kept for 7-8 years that I've not been able to wear for a long time, and now I'm wearing them, including some nice Chiefs swag I have. So I'm excited for that, just in time for football season. I'll read a couple more comments and then get out of here. Brashard Smith had a dislocated finger that was taped up. I wonder why he even played in this game. Yeah, they were talking about that on the broadcast. Maybe that played that played a factor, but we'll see. Do you think the Chiefs should trade for Terry McLaurin? I mean, I would love Terry McLaurin. Who wouldn't? But I don't think that's happening because the Chiefs just don't. They don't have the funds for that. No way. Yeah, horn on the way, Les. Let's go, baby. I'm not done yet. More than halfway there, but we're getting there. Rather Tyquan Thornton than Sky Moore. I do agree with you. Yes, S. Eagle 108. Thornton just fits this scheme better than Sky Moore. And with Sky Moore, I've said this before. Sky Moore was a second round pick in 2022. A year later, the Chiefs drafted a wide receiver in the second round again. So 2 years in a row, the Chiefs drafted a wide receiver in the second round. Sky Moore first, and then Rashee Rice second. Rice has picked up the offense and has been more involved in a shorter amount of time that he's been on the team compared to Sky Moore. I think that's another big indicator that the Chiefs really might be out of patience with Sky Moore. And honestly, they might be ready to move on from him. I mean, I hope so. Proud of your fitness journey. Great personal determination. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. People have been asking questions and I've been trying to answer them, just kind of explaining what I've done. So, yeah, I appreciate you, Bob. Hopefully people can take some inspiration from it if they are looking. What does that mean? I think we're not suggesting McDuffie would be traded or cut. I don't think so. I don't see the Chiefs staying in Missouri, especially after the lawsuit. It'll change all the stadiums nationwide. These millionaires can buy their own stadiums. Roger, I don't disagree one bit about the about any of these. Like, owners should pay for their own stadiums, but that's not the way it works. It just doesn't. Now, as far as that lawsuit that's going on, it's not getting a lot of attention locally. I mean, I know the local media has covered it, but it was just only for like a day, and that's it. Listen, the state of Missouri and Jackson County, they've got a lot of shit to figure out, if we're being completely honest. And I know Mark Donovan was on the broadcast today, and they asked him, whenever Clark Hunt is going to do his interview, whichever preseason game that's going to be, it's going to come up. The stadium conversation, it'll come up. Now, Mark Donovan did not say anything groundbreaking or different. He's talking about how they're working out the details of these things, whatever that means. I know the mayor of Kansas City, Quentin Lucas, is talking about activating the area around the Truman Sports Complex. Clark Hunt pushed back on that and said, no, there's no room for an entertainment district. Like, where, let me ask you guys a question. Let's say the Royals move, which is expected, and they put like couple sports bars in that area, like a little shopping center, kind of like a Prairie Fire, a town center, like a smaller version of PNL, something like that. Would any of you honestly drive to the Truman Sports Complex in March or May or June for that kind of thing? Hell no. There's no way. Like, no one's going to drive to the Truman Sports Complex to hang out at Buffalo Wild Wings or Johnny's Tavern. They're just not. And the Chiefs have made it very clear there's no indoor stadium happening, because I've seen some people say, oh, they should stay in Missouri and build an indoor stadium where the Royals are. The Chiefs have made it clear that all they're doing in Missouri is renovating, if they stay in Missouri. So, yeah, see, Enrique just said, why don't they tear down the Royal Stadium and build a new stadium there? That's not even an option. I don't know why, but that's just not what's going to happen in Missouri. Your options in Missouri are simply to renovate. That's it. People keep talking about, oh, you can build a roof over Arrowhead. How? I mean, I'm not an architect or anything, but with the structure and how old that stadium is, I don't think it's designed. Maybe you could bring back the rolling roof, but honestly, I'm being honest with you guys, that rolling roof is such an ugly looking concept. I mean, there's a reason why Jackson County turned that down back in 05 or 04, whatever that was. Listen, there are a lot of new stadiums today in the NFL that are indoors now. They're building an indoor stadium, and they're going to be next to an entertainment district. I know some people don't want to hear that, but that wouldn't surprise me if the Chiefs go in that direction. Yeah, that would not surprise me at all. After your podcast, I want to check out Comic-Con now. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'll say this right now. If you're ever going to go to one of those, get a fast pass. Yeah, definitely get a fast pass. It's pricey, but it's 100% worth it. Comic-Cons in general are definitely pricey, especially if you want to meet all the celebrities that is on your wish list to meet. But it's worth it. I enjoy it. I mean, listen, I'm not a guy who spends a lot of money anyway. Like, I'm not going out to a restaurant several times a week or anything like that. I pick and choose what I do. I'll go to a couple sporting events. Comic-Cons are fun, better than sporting events, but we're not here to discuss that. McDuffie contract extension. I would imagine it's coming at some point. It's going to be difficult because that is a guy. Let's go over that right now because I have it in front of me. Sauce Gardner got a $30.1 million deal through 4 years. Derek Stingley Jr. got 30 and 4. JC Horn 25 and 4. Jalen Ramsey 24.1 in 3 years, and Pat Surtain II 24 and 4. 24 million in 4 years. McDuffie might be going high 20s, low 30s. That's what he might be. Getting with the Chiefs. And listen, the Chiefs are already paying Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey a lot of money. Chris Jones, a lot of money. So they're going to have to figure out how they're going to work McDuffie's extension, because that's not going to be easy, especially down the line. But that's for Brett Veach and his staff to figure out. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up tonight. Hey, our first post-game live chat of the season. I appreciate you guys so much. It's been a fun offseason talking to you guys. Sometimes the offseason, it's one of those offseason where it goes slowly and then it also goes by fast at the same time, if that makes any sense at all. But that's just the way that's the way it works, especially when you're doing content. It can kind of fly by. Hey, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I just commented with the link on it's popping up on Facebook and YouTube, which is kind of pointless for it to go up on YouTube. I was hoping it would go up on X automatically, but it doesn't appear to be that way. But nonetheless, let me see if I can comment. Yeah, I see myself on Twitter, but I can't. Oh, there's the chat. There. I also commented on Twitter with the YouTube link. So if you guys haven't done so already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's the one we started last year, got off to a good start. Recently, the past couple of weeks, the number of subscribers on that have certainly gone up. And that's the one that I would like to have more of. That's the one that we have the least of because it's more new. So if you guys haven't done so already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@thechiefszone. And let's have some fun this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have some videos exclusively on YouTube only, but we'll still post the links and share them everywhere else for you guys to be able to check out. All right, I'm going to get out of here. My name is Farzin Vasugian. Thank you all for joining me on this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast as the Chiefs fall 20-17. First preseason game. Starters and the second string guys looked good. Third and fourth stringer certainly needs some improvement, and I'm sure the Chiefs will attack that in their last three practices in St. Joe, and then it'll be time for the second preseason game next Friday. That's going to be a late one in Seattle. No Red Friday live chat, obviously, next Friday. Since we'll be doing the podcast, we'll have a pregame live chat. We'll have a very late postgame podcast, but we'll still be doing it nonetheless. My name is Farzin Vasugian. Thank you all for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. Peace out.